survived. Yeah, hopefully they don't. What's going on, guys? Back here, episode 23, I believe. 23 here of Detox. I've got my uncle here, Art Stypula. We're gonna be talking. A lot of stuff. First off, why don't you introduce who you are, what you do, like what is your career and stuff like that, and then we'll jump right into it.
Like you said, Art Stypula. I'm your uncle. I'm a financial planner. It's my main gig. I've been doing that since 2004. I also run marketing for an insurance company in town called Kenosha Auto Insurance. I'm a volunteer firefighter, husband, uncle.
A lot of hats. Wearing
A lot of hats, yeah.
So, what drew you to choose that career path? Like, what point in your life did you decide that's what you wanted to do, and why?
Basically fell backwards into it. I had worked for General Electric and a couple other big corporations like Cardinal Health back in the 90s after college and whatnot. And, it was good jobs, you know what I mean? And I was actually in Phoenix. I was getting my MBA, and I was working for GE, and I was in the process of moving to Chicago to work for Jekis, which was one of their divisions in Schaumburg. And then 9/11 happened. So, it was a terrible day for our country, and it had spillover effects for everybody, places we couldn't think of, and mine were minute. I lost my job, so it was nothing compared to what a lot of folks went through, but I had to kind of restart. So I waited tables like I did before. So, did that, worked at a restaurant called the Rosebud, and then Roots Chris Steakhouse, a couple nice places. Cheesecake Factory first, where I met my buddy John and Eddie. That's a whole nother thing.
Never been to Cheesecake Factory. I've actually always wanted to go, but
they make anything that you've ever thought of, but like the menu's like this thick. It's ridiculous.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's like 100
It's got to be
pages.
annoying. So were you waiting tables there? Or?
Yeah, it was the one in Old Orchard in Skokie.
Okay, so
Yeah.
a lot of people asked what the specials were, and I'm sure that was.
There was one of those places where there was so much on the menu that everyone that sat down, they got this book. And you got this book that had like 2 pages of appetizers and then a page of salads and 3 pages of sandwiches, and no one, people wanted help with the menu.
Yeah.
It was a good gig though. It was fun.
Yeah.
It was waiting tables. It was a good time.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, service industries. I mean, it's a tough place to work. It's
Yeah.
fun though, like you said.
Right. Yeah.
You build a lot of skills, I think, too.
And you meet a lot of people. I mean, it seemed like back then when I was working in the restaurant industry, everybody that I was working with, whether they're a waiter or a bartender, this was a step along the way. They were an entrepreneur. They were getting their degree. They were getting their master's in nursing, whatever they were doing.
You got motivated people that are working
Right,
there.
right.
That's important too.
And I had met another server of mine, or that I was working with at is it Ruth's Chris or Rosebud? I can't remember. Anyhow, she worked for a guy named Greg Laspiza, who was a VP at AXA Advisors. I can't remember.
Okay.
I can't believe I remember that name. I haven't said that in like 20 years. And she said we'd totally get along. So it was one of those things where she introduced me. We went out to lunch. We got along, and I started getting my Series 7, like my securities licenses, and then I started with AXA. And that's kind of how it all began, like the second career, if you will, after like GE and all that stuff.
Yeah, and so financial planning. So you've worked with, is that on the financial planning side? I know you've worked with some like professional athletes. Is that to do with that side of things, or what is
no,
that?
that was a whole other thing. I met actually a good friend of mine, Ronald Talley. He was a rookie. He was a rookie draft pick for the Packers, and we had met at some event. I don't remember what it was, like in 2008 or something like that, or 9. I don't remember when he was a rookie exactly. And we just hit it off. We became friends. I got introduced to a lot of people through him and met a lot of different guys, and some of us we did business along the way, but most of it was really just living out like a fan's dream, if you will, because I was friends with this great buddy of mine. He just happened to play in the NFL, and so like when we'd hang out, it just happened to be with people in the NFL play, right, and all the people that hang out with that. So that was a pretty good time.
That's got to be a very unique experience. What's one of the I guess what would you say is one of like the craziest stories you'd have from a night with him, or something that you can speak on?
That I can speak on.
Yeah. Even just like you said, like maybe someone you met through him or something like that would have been really special to you.
Lil Wayne. So I was at the 2015 Super Bowl party. I think it was in Phoenix at the time, right? Yeah. It was the Patriots against whoever they killed. There was like there was like days of pre-parties, and like the NFL has these like the venues all over the cities where they have, and you know, I didn't go to the game, to be perfectly clear, never been to a Super Bowl game, but I went to all these different events, and I remember we were all just kind of mingling and hanging out, and I'm sitting next to this dude, and you know, we're just like watching like Shaq come in and all these like super famous people, you know, and I'm just sitting next to this dude, and this guy's real scruffy looking, and like he kind of smelled funky, and you know, he had like the big dreads, and I'm like, I had no idea, and like, I don't know, I offered him a drink or something like that, because I don't know, like it was just like, we're just BSing, and then like my one buddy's like, dude, that's Lil Wayne, and I was like,
oh shit,
I was like, oh, you know,
that's
like,
insane.
So
That's
that was pretty cool. That was pretty
yeah,
neat.
that's a neat moment. I wouldn't expect. I mean, I guess NFL players, basketball players, and rappers, they kind of all coexist, hang
especially
out.
at those events. I mean, everybody comes out, like everybody in every industry.
Super Bowl's huge.
You know,
exactly.
Athletes, musicians, movie stars, all that. You know,
that's
it's pretty fun.
What do you think? So you mentioned that was kind of like a side thing. How you met him, like, or kind of you did like other business stuff like that. So do you own your own business then? Or
so I own my practice, yeah. Gotcha. And then I run marketing for Kenosha Auto. So what I do there is basically social media, advertising, bringing on marketing things, and different stuff like that, activities.
And so like, what would be some advice that you would like to give to people that also aspire to be in entrepreneurship in any type of facet, whether that's starting their own business or even something as like that's as lenient as maybe marketing is, where they kind of got to take the initiative to get things done and do stuff that way?
You know, other than be nice to everybody, because you don't know who you're going to be sitting next to. The guy that you could be waiting tables with could be your boss someday at some Fortune 500 company or whatever. You never know. You never know who you're talking to. That number one, you know, be courteous, and you know that goes a long way too, you know, to other people. But I would say read. That's a lost art, I think, with the internet and YouTube. And I mean, no offense, YouTube. I don't want you guys to cut us off right now.
Oh man, they're gonna shut the podcast.
Right,
down,
we're done.
Detox is over.
It's over. But you know, like just simply reading. I know a lot of I get a lot of crap a lot of times because I read the Wall Street Journal like every day, and people see me doing it whether I'm on vacation or work at the gym or whatever. And it's one of those things where if you develop those habits, it's like muscle memory. You know, it's like if you're a great basketball player, you're not gonna just make free throws. You know, you're gonna have to practice day in and day out. Besides going to practice, besides doing suicides and lifting weights. So it's one of those things where you almost have to create that. I would say learning and learning that much as you can every day, and that's gonna help you because everything changes. Everything, business, marketing, everything changes on a daily basis. If you're not learning, you're not gonna have an ability to earn.
Yeah, and we were talking about it today. Just with we were kind of, I don't know, we were just kind of shooting the shit about some like motivational stuff and just explaining that everything, like I forgot what the analogy was we used, but like everything is everything, and that if you want to do well in school, you want to get an A in school, there's going to be stuff that you don't want to do. There's going to be pieces but you got to like the grind, like you got to be willing to enjoy or at least finish
you got to learn
parts.
You got to learn the hustle, man.
Same way, if you want to be the best player on a court, you have to get excited about learning how to pivot. That's boring as shit, but you got to learn how to do that to be the best player. And it's the same thing with, like you said, like how developing reading skills, stuff like that, and being able to do that kind of stuff every day. And you probably enjoy it, I'd imagine. Yeah,
you get to a point where it's like it becomes part of it. Same thing with like working out. You know, the hardest part of working out is those first few weeks. You know, a lot of people get burnt out. They go too hard at it, and then they kill themselves or hurt themselves, and they're just, this is not for me. I'm gonna do something else, and they never do. But if you take it, you know, and you start to kind of, again, make it muscle memory, make it part of your routine, and it becomes weird not to.
Exactly.
You know,
then
like,
you feel off because you didn't get your lift in, or you didn't get your run in, whatever it is.
Right. Or you want to read something, you want to learn something in your field, so you're gonna want to take time out. You know, whatever that it is. Right.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm happy you touched on that. So I know, like you said, working out is obviously you want it to become a part of you. And what has fitness in general meant to you? And you're like, so I know you have an interesting story that we had talked about a while back off air.
So I'll keep it brief because it's such a long story. In the 6th grade, I was run over by a car, and we lived in Chicago, and a car hit me going pretty fast, and it hit me like right by where the femur and the hip meet. So pretty much severed the femur like right at the ball of the hip. So then I got tossed up the car, flipped off, and I landed like on my knees.
Yeah.
And then it came out, all that stuff, you know. So that's not a great verdict.
No, yeah.
I mean, you're not. Good. The Yankees aren't calling. is what's not happening. So I went through surgeries. I spent a lot of time in the ICU, then the kids ward. I was in the 6th grade at the time. So I spent the holidays in the children's ward, which was rough. But at the end of the day, I had an exit date, which was kind of weird because like I actually felt worse for some of the kids that were there because I knew that I had broken bones that were mending and healing, and I was gonna have stuff to go through. But like some of these kids had just, I mean, you know,
there wasn't a lot of
there wasn't,
upside.
yeah. So it was tough. It was really tough. And then about a year later, I was in a body cast for like 9 months. About a year later, so I had to relearn how to walk, and then go all through that.
God, yeah, that's crazy.
And then I got bullied a little bit when I got back to school. I was in a private Catholic school in Chicago. My parents worked like 4 jobs apiece to make sure that, you know, me and your mom went to like Catholic school and got the best education. Yeah, it kind of sucked. So we moved up here. My parents figured that'd be better. They didn't want they just had Yola, my other sister, so they didn't want Edith and Yola to kind of, you know, grow up. And to them, now Chicago was the place where children got run over by cars.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So like as a parent, you know, and I get it. So we went to Bristol, Wisconsin. And here was kind of cool because I got to just kind of disappear. Nobody knew that I went to school with a walker and like I had all these issues. So I kind of ditched that thing. But then there was a flip side to that. You know, when you're sedentary for a year and, you know, you don't move and you were an active kid before that, you gain a little weight. In my case, it was a lot of weight. You know, I went into the body cast. I could fit my fist inside between my rib cage and that. And I came out when I was spilling over, you know. So, but again, it happens to a lot of us. You get injured. People get knee injuries and it happens, you know. Athletes all their life, 22 years old, they pop their knee out, and then, you know, yeah, it is what it is. You know, I was fortunate it happened to me young, so I had time to recover. Not that you still can't. And then, kind of in high school, I got bullied a little bit, and there was an incident. I think it was my sophomore year, and this guy who was the running back, his name was Rick Lundgren. God rest his soul. He was the running back, like a varsity running back at our age. So I was a sophomore. He was already on varsity. And he kind of seen what happened, came up to me afterward, the whole thing, and was like, hey, man, he's like, F those guys. He goes, you know what, 20 years from now, they're going to be sitting in a bar, they're going to be loser townies, you know. Side note, he was right. Like, literally
that's
nailed it.
how that goes, actually.
And he's like, you know, meet me at the gym tomorrow. And I was like, what? You know, I'm like, the gym? It's like, oh man, I'm gonna get my butt kicked there. But something told me to show up, you know. So I did. I showed up the next day. I lied to my mom. I forgot what I told her I had to do. I was in trouble or something. Because she wouldn't have let me. She was so protective about everything. She figured like the weights would drop on me and kill me or something. But so I showed up every day after school. I worked out with him. And then about 2 weeks after that started, he drowned in Paddock Lake. It was March 13th, 1990. And he was supposed to work out. It's actually a really good friend of mine now. Lon was supposed to work out as well with all of us. And I know Lon had mentioned he would try to get a hold of him. And anyway, so Rick went with these guys that I don't know how he really knew them. And one thing led to another, and he fell in Paddock Lake and drowned. So that was kind of, you know, it was a real shock to all of our. Like the whole high school pretty much like was broken down. He was like really popular, very good kid, athlete, and just a musician too. He was like one of those. He was like a Renaissance man. You know, he had like long hair. He could play guitar, but he was the star running back. You know what I mean? So anyhow,
he seemed like a good guy too. That's
really good dude. Really good dude. So that kind of motivated me to like stick with the gym. It was kind of one of those things where like, well. You know, as I really liked the progress we were making. And then so I kind of took that. That was like my motivator and it got me started. And then after high school, I started working out with my buddy Matt Spurline and Lon Rothwell and Rob Hall. And we just literally, after high school, like we all had jobs. And we all met at Gold's Gym in Kenosha, which is now, I don't know what it is.
I'm not sure either.
Charter, I think, or something like that.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and then we started hitting the weights, and I became an amateur competitive bodybuilder. Believe it or not, I did 2 shows.
What did you place?
Not great.
That's fair.
I think last in my first show, and then 7th out of 10 in my second show. So
that's too bad. I mean,
I did it.
You were in the show.
I was in the show.
That
I was in the
counts.
show.
What was like? What's something like? I've never obviously done bodybuilding. What's something that you like? People probably don't understand goes into bodybuilding.
There's so much. I mean, I could talk about this for like 3 hours, dude.
Well, give me something. What's something that you think, or what's a big misconception about
So like, first of all, for today's generation, y'all don't need to be taking IGBF-1 or steroids. I mean, there's just no reason for that. There's just no reason for it. You'll pay for it later. You know what I mean? Like, this is like you're making a deal with the devil, if you will. So trust me on that. You could do it yourself. You could do it. It takes longer. It's not easier.
Yeah.
But it's you're gonna live. You know, and that's at the end of the day. So that's probably one of the things. And two, it's really not like what you think of. Like, bodybuilding doesn't have to be that big meathead that you see. You know, it's bodybuilding. Arnold Schwarzenegger does a great breakdown of this as he's older. You know, because he's kind of more of just like a regular guy. He's not like this huge Terminator anymore. You know, he's just an old 70-some-year-old guy who's in good shape. But it's really, what is it? It's sculpting your body, right? So it's taking what you have and making the best out of it. And really, in my mind, I've always thought of it, and we, you know, Matt, Lon, Rob, and all of us going back to the day, we always thought of it that was the key. Like, if you can make that part the best, then everything else is going to kind of fall in, because you learn discipline, you learn training, you learn how to make a commitment to others. Like, you know, if we were doing back and we were doing deadlifting and one of us didn't show up, that was a problem, because Matt was deadlifting like 750 pounds for reps, you know, like talking 6-8 times. You need like,
you need someone
it's a
spotting you,
functioning team when that happens, you know what I mean? Like, so, you know, they had people counting on you. So it just taught me the best of everything, you know, and, you know, it carries over into business and the life. And, you know, again, it's not about sculpting your body. It is, you're adding on whatever you see that you want to make better, your shoulders, your back, or whatever. But it's also creating health, and that's why I started with that IGBF-1 and steroid stuff. At the end of the day, this is all being healthy. You know, there's no point in being the biggest dude, you know, and then
your heart's gonna blow up.
Yeah, your heart's gonna explode. Look at, you know, God rest his soul, Rich Piana. You know, that dude was awesome. You know, great. He was great because he told the truth about performance-enhancing drugs.
He was a bodybuilder too.
He was a bodybuilder that never got success in the actual circuit, but then found a huge following on social media, YouTube and Instagram.
Okay, gotcha.
And then I don't know the exact details of his autopsy, but his heart basically exploded. You know, at like 41 or something like that.
Yeah, that's young. That's
young, dude. That's 4 years younger than me.
Yeah,
you know,
that's not right.
It's scary. So, and I might not be quoting his age right, but.
So, what do you think about creatine? I know a lot of guys that take creatine.
You know, I never took it. I've always believed in food, like natural-based food. Like, okay, in college, I'm lying about that. In college, I drank protein shakes. Because when you're running from school, class, I worked job, you know, full time. So like, there's times you can't just sit down. You can't have 3 chicken breasts. You know what I mean? You just don't have the time to eat it. Even though your mom would be awesome, she'd always prep food for me and help me out.
I'm gonna have to get on her with that.
She was. Yeah, I probably killed it for you though.
Breakfast.
I probably killed it for you because she probably has PTSD from me like yelling at her. I need tuna and rice.
God, I wish I could have got Yana on that. She doesn't. Nobody could. I'd try and get my girlfriend to do it, but other than that, it's just don't eat. But that's why I don't eat enough food to get the weight I want to get.
Yeah, the food is the key. You know, all that other stuff is great, but I mean, you really everything's in your diet.
Yeah.
You know, if you've got a good diet, you get in your macros, and you know, I'm not a big fan of like some of these fads like keto. You know, any diet that's telling you to take in a stick of butter with your protein. I mean, that just seems like a great business model for you to come back and buy more magazines and buy more stuff. Like, you know, health should be about
diet.
Right. Like health should be about living and finding your niche and what you like, whether it's bodybuilding, CrossFit, yoga, running, you know.
Yeah. I think
and then you just be healthy and live.
Yeah, and I think that it's especially like people get into it where it's like they just hate they hate the diet that they're doing, or they hate the program that they're doing, and it's like it's like you said, it's health. So I think it's more than just how much weight you're lifting, how much far you're running. It's all the other stuff too, and that I think that goes into like people love these cheat days, and when you do a cheat day, it's like you're just getting through the whole week to eat like shit for a whole day, and then a cheat day turns into a cheat week, turns into a cheat month, and then you slip up. That's why I always tell we have a buddy that I tried helping out working out for a while, and he would always be like, well, what about cheat day? I'm like, no, can't do cheat days. Like, you need to just just
there
eat
comes a
something
point
good.
where cheat days are important, because if your diet is so on point and you're taking in high protein, high fiber, low carbs, and low sugar, the human body's amazing. It's just going to adapt.
Yeah.
And, not a lot of people know this, but it's so basic. I mean, the human body's a fat storing machine. If you think about it, since the Industrial Revolution, we didn't like grow wings or like any kind of cool gills or nothing like that. We are the same human being that had to forage, hunt for their food, go sometimes a day or two before they found their food and had to kill it and dress it and cook it. But we've got automobiles, we've got elevators, we've got stairs, we've got all these things, but our body is still that like Neanderthal. You know what I mean? Like, and the Neanderthal body, like, they want to protect the organs. How do you protect the organs? With fat. So the human body is a fat storing machine.
That makes sense.
So I always look at any diet that says, "Ooh, put a stick of butter within your coffee." I'm like, "Oh man, that just sounds like a subscription you're subscribing to someplace."
Yeah.
Word.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So yeah, I mean, it's a long, when the Industrial Revolution compressed time so fast. Think about the things that you could do today that you couldn't do just 10 years ago.
Yeah, very true. I mean, even just look at like technology in itself, just cell phones, what they can do versus what they could do 10 years ago, even a couple of years ago.
Right.
Crazy. Fitness. That's why I really wanted to get your opinion on that. And obviously, like with bodybuilding and stuff, I'm sure you faced like a lot of different adversity. You said eating was obviously a big importance of it. What would you say is like the biggest hurdle to get into something like that, or just to even start? I guess not necessarily maybe competitively bodybuilding, but just shaping your body into the way you want.
I think the two biggest things are, one is time. A lot of us today don't have a lot of time, and that's a fact.
Yeah.
And two is just taking that first step and creating a system around that time. We all have time. It's just a matter of how we sculpt it. Maybe
priorities. I think
prioritize.
Yeah.
You can watch your TV shows at night while you're doing cardio, like on a bike or at the elliptical at the gym, or even I the best $10 I ever spent. My neighbor back in Paddock Lake like 20 years ago was throwing out a stationary bike. $10. I couldn't just take it from him, so I gave him $10.
Yeah.
Best $10 I've ever had. I still use it.
That's
you know what I mean?
Right there.
So it doesn't have to be like, you don't have to be super complex. There's a lot of people on Instagram now. And by the way, with social media, you guys have such an advantage and a disadvantage, because there's a lot of misinformation.
Much misinformation.
But there's a lot of free information, and I would say, if you're trying to take that in, the information, cross-reference it with some of the older greats. Like, if Arnold Schwarzenegger would look at you and go,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The Rock, The Rock owns social media, let's be real.
Yeah.
But that dude's got a work ethic. And that dude's big. I'm not saying he's natural. I'm not saying he's not. It's not my place. But that dude is impressive. That all still takes work, And again, so it's just a matter of creating your time, I have to wake up early, I have to wake up super early to do it. I work out in the mornings, but I read the Wall Street Journal while I'm doing cardio. So I literally kill part of work before even like 7:30, So I'm kind of like my brain's already going, I'm ready for the day. Because in my line of work, it could be a really slow day, and all of a sudden by 8:30, 6 business owners have, questions that just range from all kinds of, things, and you just have to think on the fly and be able to deal with it.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Well, that's really interesting, and I'm glad you were talking about just like the time management and work. What do you think any of that, like maybe I'm sure you picked some of it up obviously through fitness, but also you're a son of 2 immigrant parents, correct? So I think I'm sure that played some sort of role in the work ethic that you have and the person you are today. I mean, what are some things that maybe to start some challenges that you had seen them witness, or that you maybe personally had to go through as being an immigrant?
Well, one of the things, being an immigrant, I had it okay because I went to grade school. I had like a summer or something like that when we first moved here in '79, and I just watched cartoons for like 2 months, and so I picked up most of English. And I went to Monroe Public School in Chicago, and I mean, that was like, it was everybody. You had Korean, Black, Hispanic, Asian, Puerto Rican, everybody was there.
Chicago, yeah. Exactly.
So, and especially this neighborhood was all immigrants. So, I didn't even notice that I was really an immigrant until I moved up here. if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
because,
no, definitely.
You know, it was such a diverse neighborhood, you know, and it was really weird to come up here at the time because up here, when I moved to Wisconsin in '89, it wasn't as diverse as it is now. Now it's diverse.
Yeah.
You know, but back then you didn't have transportation. There was no metro coming out here. You know, it was different. But I would say that getting back to like the work ethic, you know, I watched my parents have to work both two jobs pretty much growing up through high school. Yeah. So, you know, I don't know if I learned time management from that. I probably learned that in college, just juggling, like, because I knew I had to work to get anything. My parents weren't about to give me anything. Yeah. So I knew if I wanted like that PlayStation or whatever, I had to go get a job. Yeah. So I had just kind of learned time management through that. But definitely the work ethic from them, I mean, they're like my superheroes, you know, watching what they've accomplished and what they've had against them.
It's really something special to everything that they've put together and that they've built. So that I bet that would have an impact. Again, kind of along the same lines, I guess, but also not. You said you were a volunteer firefighter.
Yes. So how did that come about? So in 2012, I joined. I was going through a big life change, and I'd always wanted to be a firefighter, but I was already have this career, you know, and I have clients that count on me, you know, college savings plans, retirement plans, all this stuff. You're kind of committed. You're dug in, and I love what I do. I love what I do. I help people on a level that most people don't understand, and it comes pretty simple to me. Yeah. So I have a blessing that way. But I wanted to give back more, and ever since my car accident, I had basically idolized the Chicago Fire Department. They were the first ones there. I remember when the ambulance got shut, the cops showed up. You know, I was already on the way to the hospital. The firefighters buttoned me up, so that made a huge impact on me. Always, and as a kid, I mean, fire trucks, and you know, airplanes are like the coolest thing in the world. So
yeah, a lot of kids.
You know, when I was kind of going through some life changes in 2012, a good friend of mine, Brad Pfeiffer, known him forever, came up to me and he said he was at the time a firefighter for Kenosha, and he said, you know, I know captain on Salem. You know, you live in Salem, Jim Koppelman. You should go talk to him. I think you guys would get along. And Jim's a great guy, ex-Marine, great dude, and we got along right away. And I took to it, you know. Yeah. And got certified in January of 2013 in Firefighter 1, and followed up with that with Firefighter 2 and that, and been doing it ever since.
That's really cool. What so I guess you said kind of the incident is kind of something made you idolize them. What was the process, and I guess what of the harder parts of that process, what got you through that? Like, what made you really want to do it? Was it just the giving back and just like the idolization of just wanting to be a firefighter? It really
both.
just kind of drove?
I think that I was at a point in my life where I was very grateful for where I was, and if it wasn't for certain people in my life and interactions with people, and that's how it is it's always that the one dude that just gives you the right push the right way at the right time. I was blessed to have that, you know, Rick being one, some of my friends in high school, you know, and then, you know, the firefighters that saved my life, you know. So it was one of those things where I felt kind of like, well, I've gotten here. I don't have children. I was single, and you know, I couldn't very well go and serve in the military because I was already too old. So it was perfect. It was perfect. It was a great way to give back, and I really enjoyed it. Enjoy it, I should say.
So that's, you know, I've always wondered too. So firefighters, because my dad used to be a firefighter and an EMT as well, and then actually my great grandpa, he started the Grays Lake Fire Department originally.
I knew that. Yeah.
So I've always, and I actually used to joke with my dad about it when he would have slower days. He would kind of say, "Oh, it's just kind of boring day, boring slow day." Do you guys? Is it kind of a weird balance where like you don't want anybody to go through any sort of trauma where you have to be there, but you also like you train for it, you prepare for it, and I'm sure there is a little bit of like thrill in saving them. Is it kind of weird feeling?
It's it's hard to describe, and everybody goes through it differently. I would say it's every call is different. You know, they're all super intense, especially for the people involved. You know, we could look at it at 10,000 feet and deconstruct it, but during that moment, you know, that family, that person's going through probably one of the most traumatic points of their life. So it's a thrill, but it's like I don't know, it's hard to describe. It's like it's scary at the same time, because this could be you. Like this is just the different address than my house. You know, we're the same age or we're close, whatever. You know, So I think it's an honor to be able to be there and help people on their worst day, because hopefully then somebody will be there, because I'm getting old, we're all getting old, that someone will be there 20, 30 years from now when I need that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, hopefully.
No, that's cool. That's cool, actually. Yeah, I like that a lot. So now that you are a firefighter, volunteer firefighter, I know you also enjoy being an extra on some of Chicago Fire episodes. And so yeah, so how did you first like get into that? And I know they're always looking for firefighters and like actual firefighters and stuff like that. How did you first come about?
So the first one was, my wife actually sent me a thing off of Facebook that they were looking for firefighters, and we had a couple of guys on Salem that had done it, and I mean, I didn't think anything of it, so I submitted. I was just kind of one of those things, and I got picked.
Yeah.
And then got picked a few times. It's fun. It's neat.
Yeah.
It's a different window into the world. Again, it's kind of like that whole, since hanging out with all the guys and friends on the NFL, I used to be a huge Steelers fan.
Yeah.
Now, not. I just like football. You know? For high school and college, much better, to be honest with you. Because you kind of see behind like that Wizard of Oz thing. You see behind the wizard, and you see behind the curtain. It's like, oh, this isn't such a great thing. It's like mostly just like corporations making money.
Yeah.
You know, like it's not that awesome. And with the TV thing, it's pretty cool too. But that, because you get to see like how like 40 minutes of television is done, you know, and how that could take 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You know,
exactly.
like literally 2-3 weeks to do that, you know.
Yeah.
So it was pretty cool. It was a good time, and just being able to put on the uniform. You know, not that you're responding to a real call. Actually, that's actually the neat thing. I talk with some of the guys that are on some of the other big departments that we do, Chicago Fire. It's actually the funnest times we get to put on bunker gear, because when that siren goes and those lights are going, like, there's no one that's hurt.
Yeah.
There's no one having a bad day except for maybe like a production assistant that's got to keep running back and forth for something. You know, and I'm sorry that sucks, Haley. But you know, that is what it is. You know, so yeah, it's neat. It's a good time.
Yeah, it is. It's really cool. I mean,
and you did a show.
Yeah, when I
as
got
well,
to,
right?
When you'd sent me that one link, and
which I saw you. I saw you if you did the thing.
Yeah, that was fun. I took a bunch of pictures of when I was on for like the couple seconds.
That's what you do. You just sit there and you just you know.
It's definitely weird. I actually. I think what were we watching? We were watching Avengers, I think, and I was like, dude, how cool would it have been
to be the guy, right?
I'm like, I see, like,
to read the paper and be like, oh, that's Hulk.
Yeah, or like that one shot in Infinity War when Tony Stark comes out of the place with Doctor Strange, and he just sees the big like orb thing coming out of the big spaceship. Like that one shot. If you're just one of those people that's like running through the street, like I would pause that movie every day. I'd frame that.
That would be like my Facebook profile page. I'd have T-shirts made up of it.
Exactly.
Like my whole family at Christmas. That would be the wrapping paper.
That would be that's so cool to me. I don't know. And now I look at that now though.
I do too. Like ever since like it's funny. Like my wife will make fun of me. I'm like, did you see that guy? What he was doing? She's like, what? Oh, you're watching the extras again.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, look at that dude.
It's weird. I mean, I met some really cool people when we did it. So I'm super thankful you sent it to me, because like it was a super fun experience. Met some people I still talk to today. Met some really weird people too, and that's like the thing where I like.
Man, that's how the world is.
Exactly, but that's what like I just think when I'm watching movies, I'm like, wow, that guy, like that dude in the background, like that guy got picked to do this, or like he was just available that day.
He was just available, right.
And so I always think that's really funny. But so I guess kind of sticking with television, and I guess media in general. What's going on? Patrick's saying hello. He says, nice job. He's so famous, my fellow Chicago Fire hero.
That would be Patrick.
Yeah. What's going on, Patrick? Thanks for
watching. What's going on, buddy?
So,
yeah, there it is. I see it now.
Yeah. So he's putting those in
I just
chat.
dated myself. Oh, look at that.
Going back into media then. So I know you're a big comic book fan. I was just talking about obviously Infinity War and Avengers and stuff. First off, do you like the new movies, the MCU? You think they've done a good job with
Absolutely. I think that I mean, and I kind of knew it. I told a bunch of friends that when Disney was talking about buying Marvel and Star Wars, I was like, this is a good time to buy the stock, because Disney's been telling stories since like the beginning of time, like great stories. I mean, there's adult men that wear Mickey Mouse ties. Yeah. Okay. In business, like real adult men will wear a Donald Duck pin to work. Yeah. That says something. And if they took over Marvel, because Marvel struggled over the years. I mean, Stan Lee was basically broke until he died. I mean, not right then, but until that all happened, he was broke most of the time. So yeah, it's great to see what Disney's done with it. I think that as a fan, I mean, I grew up on it. Watching what they've done with those films is just amazing. No complaints at all.
Yeah, I love the Marvel Studios. I mean, before that, they kind of had a little iffy because then I think they had to sell. He sold all his rights.
Rights, yeah, he had a
to
lot of
Sony,
issues. Yeah,
got Spider-Man.
Fox, everybody.
Fox had the X-Men, and
NBC at some point I think owned them. Like everybody did.
Yeah, everybody owned pieces, and now I think it's cool that a lot of people are like really. Some people are mad that Disney owns as much of it as they do now because they don't want Disney to own like all of the media we consume, but. I mean, they're doing for the Marvel.
They're doing a good job.
For Marvel's sake, that I like that all being together because, like, I'm glad that they're talking about possibly doing a Venom crossover too now in the MCU.
Because they can now. Yeah, that'd be amazing.
And I just don't. I think it'd be stupid for the fans to not get that. Where if you're gonna hold all these people due to contracts, like,
right.
Then I don't know. Then it's not really the comics. If Spider-Man can't fight Venom, then
right,
that's
exactly.
stupid.
Or be on the X-Men for like an episode or whatever movie. I should say.
The X-Men are getting rebooted actually pretty soon. That's what Kevin Feige said. But
really?
I think not this phase, but next phase. So I'm really excited. I'm super big nerd with that. I wasn't as big into the comics. I know you were big into the comics.
I was.
What drew you to comics to begin with?
Same thing as fitness. The whole car accident thing. I had
Really?
a lot of time on my hands, and there was like no TV back then. I mean, we had Fox, which is 32, 5, 2, 12. That's it. Like, there's no cable.
Yeah.
So yeah, I read a lot of comics, read a lot of books, and comic book characters I could relate to because, like Wolverine healed. This guy did this. Captain America was this like picked on little dude who became a superhero, blah, blah, blah. So I related to it. I think a lot of kids did that were bullied and picked on and, marginalized, really bonded with that.
Yeah. Most definitely. Who's your favorite character?
I would say probably Captain America.
And why?
He's kind of a man at a time, kind of a do-gooder. Gets made fun of a lot.
Yeah.
One of my buddies has it's funny, his ringtone is the language from Civil War.
Oh yeah.
Because I tend to swear a lot. Which I'm actually impressed I haven't sworn yet. I'm gonna probably explode by the time this is over.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say probably Cap. Probably
Okay.
Cap. Just kind of relate with him the most.
That's funny. Do you like his MCU portrayal then? Do you think that's
I think Chris Vaughn nailed it. I mean,
Chris Evans?
Chris Evans.
Yeah.
Chris Evans. Sorry, Chris Vaughn.
No, I got you.
Vince Vaughn. No. I think. Can you imagine Vince Vaughn as Captain America?
I saw a thing that someone started a petition online for Danny DeVito
to be the
play
new Wolverine. Yes, that would be like.
That would be insane.
Oh my God.
But no, I like Chris Evans as Cap. I mean,
Yeah.
he got. I always used to. He was annoying to my girlfriend, and I like Iron Man the most, and so like we'd always like the first couple movies. I thought his movies were really good, but him like just comparative to like watching Robert Downey Jr. play Iron Man, I was just like, dude, quit being such a buzzkill, dude. Like you're always like you said. I mean, he is like,
such a do-gooder, man.
Yeah, and so it's just kind of not as interesting for me to watch, but I like him, especially towards the end. I love the arc that they had him.
Oh,
him
so
and,
Great.
Robert Downey Jr. kind of crossed and
Right,
switch roles.
and they switch. Yeah,
That was cool. That was really cool.
It was cool. It was cool.
What do you guys think of the Superman franchise? And they filmed it out here by our house. It was so cool. I thought they'd expand on it further. Which one? The new Superman?
The new Superman, I imagine he's talking about.
Oh,
So
I heard that they're still in the works to do. Or Henry Cavill, is that the guy who plays him?
he's done, right?
Yeah, he wants to. His contract's over, but he said he's open to doing it.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I haven't heard that. I was gonna say like that's in my opinion. Going back to that question, that I love Superman as well. Again, comic. I wasn't as into DC as Marvel, but I feel bad for DC. They just haven't had a good time. I mean, they've had like 32 Batmen. Ben Affleck I thought he was a great old man Batman. I mean, he was cranky, bitter. That's exactly what Batman would be like after 30 years. God, this town sucks. Get sick of it. God, he was perfect. And he quit.
Yeah, I don't. He was having substance abuse problems, though, wasn't he? Like somebody. I mean, he always has been, but I don't know. I never actually. I loved Batman more than I liked Superman, and I thought Christian Bale's Batman.
Oh, he was great.
I thought those were really good.
Yeah.
I guess I always like Batman and Iron Man better than like Superman or Cap, because I thought that, in my opinion, and like when I saw Superman, he just got his powers from the just being on Earth, and he's just like immortal. Like, you can't do anything. Like there's no, he's gonna win. Just
he's gonna win no matter what.
When he
it's
wants
when.
to. Yeah, when he wants to win. And for them, I liked that in Batman's case and even in Iron Man's case, they're both rich, so like I kind of don't really relate to them in that sense, but they both built themselves, you know,
Right.
like they both
Right.
built themselves as whether I mean Cap was a good dude, but like he that was,
So
you
why
know, just
isn't Jeff
injected.
Bezos Batman? Like, come on. Like, if you're out there, Jeff, Amazon, Blue Orbit, all your companies,
Yeah,
like,
do something cool.
make a Batman suit for
or an
God's
Iron Man.
sakes.
How can we not build an Iron Man suit?
Can't put any more pressure on Elon Musk. That dude's like, he's got solar roofs going on. Like,
I hope are they
you
back
know.
on track with that? I know it got canceled a while ago.
it's back on track.
Oh hell
Yeah, it's back on track.
That's gonna be insane.
Yeah.
And I mean, did you see the Cybertruck? We were talking about it a
That
couple
thing,
weeks
you
back
know,
on here.
as funky looking as it is, here's the thing. That's not what it's going to look like.
You don't think
Like,
so?
it's not what it's going to look like. No, like,
I think he's a genius marketer.
it's a great market. I mean, he got so many orders for it, but that's not what it's going to find. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to take so many different changes and go through like the, you know, the slipstream booth or whatever that's
Yeah.
called for aerodynamics. You know, blah blah blah.
And
It's
so
going to
many,
change.
Yeah, so many people like he's so smart. Like he doesn't pay any money in advertising. And
No.
he had I forget how many. It was over a couple $1 million in pre-orders.
Right.
And that's just to buy your spot.
That's
to
just
get
to buy
it.
a
That's not
spot
buy
to get
the
a car. Right. Like,
That's
I mean,
not the price of the car.
if Chevy did, I mean, let's be real. This is not anything compared to like most cars.
Yeah,
You know, it's not. It's
exactly.
not the same. Chevy, everybody has to advertise. Even
Mm-hmm.
BMW and Audi, everybody has to advertise.
Yeah.
Dude just tweets.
Yeah.
He just tweets.
Or goes on the Joe Rogan podcast.
Or goes on the Joe Rogan podcast, and you know,
Yeah.
that was something else. But you know what's funny? Did you actually listen to that podcast?
I didn't watch the whole one, but I watched a lot of it.
Everybody talks about like him drinking and smoking pot and all that stuff, but the dude talks about like what is happening with AI, and what is happening with AI is actually really scary. It's like Terminator 2 type stuff, but the whole world focused on him like being buzzed.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you know, the whole thing starts off when Joe Rogan just kind of gets depressed. He's like, dude, this is scary stuff. I need a drink, you know,
Yeah.
like, because he's telling them about how, like, every time you Google something, you're feeding into the system and you're teaching it more and it's learning emotions. When you hit like on Facebook, it's feeding the AI, like all this stuff. And it's like, but again, society just kind of picks what they want.
Yeah.
You know?
No, that's kind of, and it's scary. That's what, that's why I don't want to get into politics. But that's why I kind of been very interested in Andrew Yang and what he's been talking about with the, with all the automation stuff that he's been like trying to address in politics. I don't think he's going to win, but it would be cool if he got enough votes to make a difference, I guess, and see some of his policies happen.
I mean, it's got, you know, the answer's always in the middle. I mean,
Exactly.
if you look at anything, if you're anything, everything's usually the answer's in the middle.
Yeah.
You know, if you're arguing with your friends, you know, unless you want to just completely capitulate,
Yeah.
you're going to be in the middle. You're going to meet ground. All right, fine. I'll work out with you at 3 o'clock instead of 4, you jerky.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Something like that. It's never so black and white like you
Right.
like it to make it be. But back with the comics, Marvel or DC?
I want to give, because I love rooting for the underdog. I do. I want to give it up for DC, but it's got to be Marvel.
Yeah.
It's got to be Marvel.
Well, so movie-wise, obviously Marvel. What did you like? Now, when you were like reading the comics, was Marvel or DC better in your opinion?
I would say Marvel probably because, again, like you said, the characters were more relatable. Like, I could relate to Spider-Man because he got picked on or made fun of by,
Yeah, and he was,
Flash.
16,
Yeah.
whatever.
I couldn't relate with a dude that all of a sudden could, like, breathe fire or ice out of his eyes and mouth because he looked at the sun. I just couldn't relate with that. Or, like, I could get the concept, like, okay, a bug bit me and, like, it was radioactive. Yeah, I could get powers, but, it was just too much. Like, DC was just too much out there.
I think that's it. Yeah, with like Green Lantern and stuff like that. That movie was really bad too.
That was really bad. I like that he made fun of himself in, was it
Deadpool.
Deadpool 2? Or
Yeah.
both, actually.
Yeah, he did it in both, I think.
He did them both. Well, at the end of Deadpool 2, he came in, remember?
And he shot
And he shot himself reading.
reading
He's
the
like,
script.
and he's like, you're welcome, America.
He's gonna be in the MCU now too, and I'm so excited.
That's going to be exciting.
I hope. I think someone was saying that they're scared it's gonna be too PG, but I think.
Have
they'll
they seen
find it.
Deadpool?
That's what. Yeah, no, that's what Kevin Feige said, that when they do a Deadpool 3, that it will for sure be still rated R, and that
Yeah.
if he does a crossover event, he'll still get to be Deadpool. Like
Yeah,
he'll
it's
still
going to
be
be
Deadpool.
brutal. It's not
Yeah.
going to be, that's not PG.
I hope. Yeah, I saw something that they
Severing
might do.
torsos is never PG.
I wish they would do like a Spidey Deadpool, a Spider-Man Deadpool, and
That would be cool.
Venom crossover. That'd be crazy. They have so much they can do now with all.
Oh, absolutely. And then people could just pop in.
Yeah.
You know, the
So
Winter
many.
Soldier can just happen to be cruising through on an Amtrak and just, you know.
Speaking of the Winter Soldier, did you think that Sam should have gotten the shield over him?
Yeah, yeah, of course. That's
Okay.
how it was in the comics. Absolutely, I think they followed the comics really well. That's how it went.
A lot of
you
people
know,
were really. I knew some people that were upset about it, but I kind of like, if you look at like how the public would have seen it, this guy, and if I'm like a regular citizen, and this guy just became Captain America. Like the last time I saw this guy in the news, he bombed a.
yeah, like why you
building.
couldn't give it to the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, exactly. Like he bombed the building that all of the world leaders were in. So I
Right.
don't
Yeah,
know.
you couldn't exactly. No.
Yeah,
No,
that
that wouldn't have worked very well. No,
Exactly.
but I think they follow the. I think Sam is going to be a great captain. I think he's going to be good.
They got the show coming up, I think.
I know, I'm
next
excited
year.
for
That's
that.
gonna be cool. And the Loki show. There's so much. Do you have Disney Plus?
I do, and you know, funny. I wasn't. A funny thing you say that. I wasn't going to be excited about those shows. I was like, it's a TV show, and then I saw The Mandalorian.
I haven't watched it yet.
That
I
is
want to watch
ridiculous.
it.
It is so good. I'm just going to leave it at that. No spoilers. Just
Did you see the
hashtag
Baby
badass.
Yoda memes? The Baby Yoda memes that are everywhere?
Yeah, they're everywhere. They're everywhere. And the best part is like half the people don't have a clue as to what's going on in the show.
I haven't seen it. I
Like,
just see the Yoda memes.
but
and
they're
I'm like,
classic.
That
He's
looks
like,
awesome.
"Arr!"
Yeah.
You know,
Looks so funny.
it is an awesome. It is well worth the $6.99 or whatever that it is a month.
Yeah, no, that's what it's like 70 a year if you get just like.
Yeah, if you get they do give you some.
And you get Hulu and ESPN
Right
Plus.
now they're doing a promo. You get Hulu and ESPN Plus.
Yeah, I
Thank
got
you,
it.
Disney.
I got it the first day it came out because I was like, yeah, I need that. Everyone's telling me to watch. Duncan's telling me to watch it right now. The Arrowverse has a 5-part CW special this week. Have you watched any of that? I've not seen any
No.
of that. So
I don't really watch TV.
you used to watch it?
I used to watch like
That's like the Flash, right?
back in the
Yeah,
day.
Yeah.
Back when
Flash
Full
and them.
started, I used to watch them. But
My
Didn't
buddy
they not-
Eddie's into it so bad.
They
Like he
didn't
tells me
use-
to watch it all the time.
They didn't use the Flash from the TV show in the Justice League, and weren't people
I
pissed
don't.
about
Yeah,
it?
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah, that's what too. Like they.
that was a gimme
why-
right there.
Come on, like you
Yeah.
already had a show. People actually
everyone
liked
loves-
that show.
Everyone loves the dude who plays Flash.
Yeah.
Like, I don't
That's
know
where
what's wrong.
DC's dropping the ball. They should be doing the continuity. Like they're not gonna have a new Captain, Winter Soldier and Falcon. It's gonna be the same dudes. You know.
Yeah, that's some scary stuff. What's this future sheepdog? Joey says better late than never. Darren, watch it. Oh, okay, that's what Joey said. Thoughts on Russia being banned on all Olympic sports for 2020? Is that real? That's not.
Yeah, that's real.
Is it?
Well, have you seen that documentary Icarus on Netflix?
No, I didn't. Oh my god.
Oh my goodness! Talk about circling all the way back to bodybuilding and PEDs and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, whoo. Yeah,
real?
yeah. Look it up, dude. It's like I thought it wasn't real at first
What's
too.
it
This
called?
morning, Icarus on Netflix. It's about a dude who basically calls out all of cycling, and like basically kind of exonerates Lance Armstrong a little bit. I mean, he still did PEDs, but they made it seem like he was the only dude doing PEDs. And like cycling, the way that it's done now, like it's almost physically impossible to not go through all of these different, And then they the definitions of PEDs, like some guys cycle their blood out to get more, what is it, red blood platelets, or is that what it is?
my
Right?
God, no,
Yeah,
I didn't
like
know that. Jesus.
it's crazy. Watch Icarus, man. It's buck wild, and at the center of it is this Russian like head of anti-doping. He's the head of the anti-doping, but he's helping this dude for a documentary beat all the doping, like shows him how they beat it.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's Icarus on Netflix.
So
It's
that's
wild.
And so that's why they're banning him from the.
I'm sure that caused the huge, because I know like the what is it, like the IOC, like after like this happened, like they show it during this real time in the documentary, like as like all this stuff is going down, they're like all this stuff is going, just coming to light. So I'm sure it's been investigated forever.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts.
That's what I saw a thing. I don't know if it was a meme or not, but there was a thing that said Kim Jong Un had said that he had a Christmas present for the U.S.
Yeah,
if
no, I
we didn't
saw
get
that
something.
on
It was like
news.
if something he had what are you saying? What's going on?
What if it is proof that he poops?
It's proof that he poops. That's his present. It's not a bomb. It's just proof.
That's weird.
Would we be okay? You think if someone was going to bomb the U.S., you think we'd make it in Wisconsin? I don't think we'd get bombed. I'd hope.
Nah, we're north
Maybe
of
Chicago.
Chicago. We're north of Chicago.
Radiation, I think it is.
We just go.
No, because
Go to
we'd have to look at the winds. We'd be kind of okay, I think. Not so great because you'd have the fallout from Chicago and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
And then like, Not a good
sad.
time.
Yeah, definitely sad.
Whoever bombed us would get like pretty instantly screwed. So.
Dude, I just hope that I don't know. I saw it and I thought it was fake, and then someone else told
Well,
me.
they'd
it
have to
was
deal with the
legit.
Kardashians right away. So like that's already a loss.
Yeah, it would all be a mess. Okay, so moving along then. How do you think? So you're into fitness. You got into comics. I know too. You're into snowmobiling, stuff like that. So how do you think people fall victim to less productive hobbies like substance abuse or issues with drugs and stuff like that? Because I don't know if you know anything about it, but not a pretty famous musician, Juice WRLD, just died. He's big artist in our generation.
Oh, I saw that actually in the paper on the way
In Chicago.
at Midway.
He died. So it wasn't. They haven't had the autopsy yet. Yeah, they haven't had the autopsy yet. But he was on a lot of pills and stuff on the plane, codeine.
Okay.
And he was apparently they. I mean, obviously it had probably nothing to do with the weed, but there were 70 pounds of weed found on the private jet. So I mean, that's a lot. He's probably trapping or something.
Christ.
But yeah, so it's really sad. I mean, it's like was it the third or fourth major artist we've had in like this.
The third, so like 2016, or no, 2017 was Lil Peep, 2018 was X, and 2019 we just lost Juice WRLD.
Yeah, so it's a lot of these guys, and it's because they're. Oh, the autopsy has been released. Okay, I didn't see it yet. Mac Miller too. Yeah, damn. He swallowed 20 perks. Yeah, that
20 Percocets?
to hide it from the feds.
Oh man, just
shit,
pay the
dude.
ticket. Go do the time, bro.
He could have still recorded the album. They let 6ix9ine record it, or
Oh,
YNW
that's
Melly
awful.
record an album, and he's got murder charges.
Mm.
Oh my god, dude. Yeah, I don't know. So like, especially like someone like that, like I feel like you.
That's terrible, man.
Yeah, he was huge. He was so. I mean, he was like he's only been in music for like 2 years, and he had #1 hits over and over
Wow.
again. So like
Three number one.
two #1 projects, like 3 or 4 #1 singles. So like, I mean, just in your opinion, how do you think people fall victim into stuff like that rather than other hobbies? And I guess in his case, he was kind of living out his dreams anyways. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
More on a regular day basis, I guess. More of like a regular person. How do you kind of avoid getting?
I mean,
into
that's
that?
such a slippery slope and a tough subject. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's easy to fall in these traps. I mean, we've all done it. You
Mm-hmm.
know, addiction is a lot of things, and not just chemical. It
Yeah.
could be food. It could be TV. It could be sex. It could be video games. It could be who knows. You know, I think we all have a tendency as in our personalities maybe to latch onto something and really kind of self-obsess maybe.
Yeah.
I've known some people that have gone through some substance abuse issues, and that hasn't worked out well. But I've also known a few that have broken through it. And whether it was they found God or fitness or health, or sometimes it was the right spouse, it was the right person in their life. Maybe they didn't have a good person in their life that was. Maybe there was like if you will, like a cancer in their life, but was a human being that was, kind of sucking out the soul, if you will. So.
Yeah.
I mean, it's tough. And in today's society, everything's so instantaneous. You've got social media, you could become a pariah just by tripping. You know what I mean? You could be going to the grocery store and someone's got their cell phone and you trip and you spill those eggs, and the next thing you know, you're on YouTube. You got 2 million hits, or whatever. So I think things have changed, and I think one of the things that we don't address in our country is our mental health. We have this very very consumer-based society, and it is consumer-based. If someone tells you they're lying to you.
100% it is,
68% of the economy is consumption. That means people buying shit.
Yeah.
There's nothing else. That means people going to Walmart, people going here and there, and we create all these like different it's almost like that not in my backyard mentality. We're really guilty of that with social media. Like everyone wants change. Like on the East Coast, everyone wants green power, clean energy. But I don't want to like windmill in my backyard. Like I'm not going to be able to see the sunset that I never really look at because I'm on Facebook all the time. It's that that's kind of what we do, and we all do it.
Yeah.
We're all guilty of it.
It's just like anything. You want something. You want the end product, but you don't want to take the steps. You don't want to put the work in to get it.
Right. And you have to everyone's got to be able to take themselves out and kind of, I guess, self-analyze, self-deprecate, and kind of self-analyze yourself. Like, hey, what am I doing wrong? You
Yeah.
know, I've lost 7 jobs in the last like 6 months. Maybe it's not the manager, because there's been 7 different managers. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I this keeps happening in my relationships. Well, maybe it's not the girls or the guys that I'm dating. Maybe I'm doing something. You know, like, but we've got to be able to be just honest with ourselves
Yeah.
and be able to do that. And I think that's huge.
Definitely.
And sometimes it takes a long time. You know,
Yeah.
people don't get it till they're in their 50s, 60s, but I think that's when you're okay with that. And I think that's when you can try to find true happiness. You know, when you're not so much worried about like how many likes have I got, what are that? You know what I mean? I'm making steps. Yeah, maybe I'm not, Justin Timberlake. Maybe I'm not like this person, but I'm doing it. You know.
Yeah, and I think too. Yeah, like social media is tough because it's almost like when why are certain people scared to go to the gym? They're scared because they think they got to compete with the biggest guy in the gym.
Right.
You're not competing with the guy in the gym. You're competing with yourself. You just want to be
Or he's
better.
gonna be mean to you.
Yeah, exactly.
He's probably the nicest dude in the world. And he probably spots you.
Exactly.
You
Probably
know?
has no, or he just has no idea that you exist and he's just doing his thing. You know. Like,
Right.
It's just like, I think it's like that with a lot of things in life. It's where people are you're just competing with yourself. I'm not trying to eat better than you. I'm just trying to eat good for what I need to
make
eat,
yourself
you know?
right.
Exactly.
Right.
And just take care of myself. What's going on in here? So we got some stuff going on in the chat. What does that say, Tim? Misdemeanor? What are you saying?
Misdemeanor count of
Oh,
carrying and
all of his
concealing-
bodyguards were
Oh,
arrested.
geez, we're going into the.
Yeah.
Okay, so he had
These are some pretty interesting comments.
misdemeanor count of carrying concealed firearm in an airport and a second misdemeanor of sale or possession of high capacity.
And metal piercing bullets?
Who the fuck?
What do you need that
What
for?
are they doing?
Wow.
Yeah, I think you're supposed to have some.
I think
chick
it's
look-
weird
he
how
grew up
in a song he
Chicago, I think
said.
he had some ties that he was still tied onto.
Yeah, that's no.
It's so weird because you never okay,
Especially
like
with him, he was never someone who really he brought it he was someone who never glorified gang.
he was not one of those because he was not one of those like rapper. Like he was more of an emotional
He made
singer,
melodic,
rapper.
Hmm.
Not like because there's some of the other guys you mentioned.
Cardi B does not mention how she doesn't mention ties with the Bloods, but it got released in the 6ix9ine case that she has ties with the Bloods.
I just feel like once you're making it like that, you shouldn't be worried about it. But Kevin also, there's a big conspiracy that he may have either faked his death or he was killed by someone because he had a lyric that said like he feels like John Lennon or he's like jealous of John Lennon or something.
He said, I'm gonna make it past 21.
And he said he wasn't gonna make it past 21 in a different song. So it was like
He
just
also
turned
tweeted-
21. He died on the same day Lennon died. And there's all these big conspiracies going around. I don't think he was killed.
That he wants to get overly famous and fake his death.
That's what he said in 2017.
Man, that's crazy.
That was an exact tweet from his Twitter. I want to get overly famous.
So basically, he wouldn't have made it as a career as like a motivational speaker. I'm pretty sure like no high school would ever hire him. They'd be like, you know what, sir? I'm sorry.
I don't know.
Pretty motivational
Yeah.
poetry.
I guess,
In a way.
Don't
Oh,
forget
man.
the past is behind us.
I mean,
That's
man,
funny.
That's a little morbid, but on that note, do you got any questions for us here at Detox or anything? If you want to say anything to people in the chat,
Oh, man,
otherwise
you
we'll
guys
probably
got a
wrap
pretty
it up.
cool thing going on here. I like this is pretty dope.
Thank you. Yeah,
I gotta admit, I'm
put
pretty
some time
impressed.
we're still constructing the rest of
Yeah.
the studio, but yeah, it's a good start. So
Looking forward to your show.
yeah, speaking
gonna
of
be a
the
good
show,
time.
December 18th. If you guys didn't already plan on coming, be there. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Live music. It's a lot more than just a pop rap show, though. It really is a lot of fun. It's a good experience. So I'd really appreciate if you come through. It's free, no charge. There's food, bar, merchandise available, tons of stuff. So it's gonna be a good night. If you're free that Wednesday, come through. Yeah. Other than that, is there any place that you want our viewers to, I don't know, do you want them to follow you or anything? Are you into that?
Yeah. What's my Instagram?
I think
It's
it's
VOL
it's some volunteer firefighter.
VOLF Fighter. That's what it is. VOLF Fighter.
Gotcha.
Right? Yeah.
Yes, that's what it is.
It is.
So
So
you
yeah,
guys can
stands
follow.
for Volunteer Firefighter.
You guys can follow him there. Otherwise, I want to thank our patrons for helping us out. You guys, helping the show be what it is, as well as are improving we're improving every week and every month. So thank you guys for helping to support the channel. If you guys want to become a patron, you can just go to patreon.com/Darren Rita and choose to support us for as little as $1 a month. So thank you guys. We'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.
Peace.